When a cosmic rift tears open above Earth, Superman finds himself face-to-face with warriors from another world, the Thundercats. Lion-OS Sword of Omens clashes with the Man of Steel's fists, each strike shaking the skies like thunder. But what begins as a battle of pride soon reveals a darker truth. Something ancient is manipulating them both. Allies turn to rivals, rivals to reluctant brothers, as Kryptonian power collides with Thundera's primal fury. And when the real enemy rises, the question isn't who wins, it's whether gods can unite before worlds burn. The skies above Metropolis had never looked so wrong. At first, it was just a shimmer, a ripple of light, like heat rising from asphalt. But then the ripple widened, splitting the clouds apart, tearing open a jagged wound in the heavens. The air vibrated with a low hum, deep enough to rattle glass and make the tallest skyscrapers tremble. People on the streets stopped in their tracks, phones raised, eyes wide. They had seen alien invasions before. They had seen gods, monsters, and machines. But this was different. This wasn't something coming from space. This was something tearing through reality itself. And then the roar came. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't a jet. It was primal, ancient, and alive. Superman was already in the air before the first scream echoed. His red cape snapped like a banner in the wind, his eyes narrowing as he soared toward the rift. His super hearing picked up the chaos below. Car alarms, panicked voices, the frantic heartbeat of a city that knew danger when it saw it. "Not today," he muttered, his voice steady, his jaw set. The rift widened, spilling light, so bright it turned day into blinding white. And from it shadows leapt. Figures. Not Kryptonian. Not human. Something else. The first to emerge was a warrior with a sword that glowed like fire. His mane of red hair whipped in the wind, his eyes glowing with a strange, ancient power. He landed on the rooftop of the Daily Planet, his blade raised, his voice booming. "I am Lion-O, Lord of the Thundercats." The crowd below gasped. Superman hovered above, his eyes narrowing. "Whoever you are, you picked the wrong city." More figures followed. A lithe, feline woman with spotted fur and a whip crackling with energy. A hulking warrior with metal arms that gleamed in the sunlight. A pair of agile twins, their eyes sharp, their movements faster than the human eye could follow. And behind them all, a glowing blue figure with the aura of a mystic, Jaga, the spirit guide of Thundera. The Thundercats had arrived. The rift snapped shut behind them, the sky returning to normal. But the damage was done. The city was in chaos, and two legends now stood face to face. Superman descended slowly, his boots touching down on the rooftop opposite Lion-O. The wind whipped between them, carrying the weight of history in the making. "You've crossed into my world," Superman said, his voice calm but firm. "And I don't know if you're friend or foe." Lion-O's grip tightened on the Sword of Omens. "We came through the rift chasing something. A darkness older than your world, older than mine. But if you stand in our way, Man of Steel, then you are no friend of Thundera." The crowd below erupted in chatter, phones streaming live, hashtags already exploding across the globe. Superman versus Lion-O. The fight no one had ever imagined, until now. Superman's eyes glowed faintly red. "If you're here to protect, then stand down. If you're here to destroy, I'll stop you." Lion-O raised the Sword of Omens high, its blade glowing brighter, the eye of Thundera blazing like a sun. Then let the truth be decided in battle. The rooftop cracked as he leapt forward, the sword swinging in a blazing arc. Superman caught the strike with his bare hands, the impact sending shockwaves across the city. Windows shattered, cars flipped, and civilians screamed as the two titans clashed. The fight had begun. Lion-O pressed forward, his blade sparking against Superman's unbreakable skin. Superman countered with a burst of heat vision, the red beams slicing across the rooftop. Lion-O deflected with the Sword of Omens, the clash of energy lighting the sky like fireworks. Thundera blurred into motion, her whip crackling as she lashed at Superman's legs. He dodged, his speed nearly matching hers, the rooftop crumbling beneath their battle. Panthro leapt in, his metal arms swinging like hammers, each strike shaking the building. Superman caught one blow, the force rattling even him, before hurling Panthro across the street into a billboard. The twins, Wily Kit and Wily Cat, darted in, their agility unmatched, tossing explosive capsules that detonated around Superman in bursts of smoke and fire. He waved the smoke aside, his cape singed but his eyes burning with resolve. "Enough!" he shouted, his voice booming across the city. But the Thundercats didn't stop. Lion OS' sword glowed brighter, the eye of Thundera pulsing with ancient power. "Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight," he cried. The blade flared, and in its light, Lion-O saw the truth. Not Superman, not Metropolis, but something else. A shadow moving in the cracks of reality. A darkness with claws sharper than steel, eyes burning brighter than fire. The true enemy. Lion-O staggered, his sword lowering. "No, it's not him. It's coming." Superman's eyes narrowed. "What did you see?" Before Lion-O could answer, the sky split again. The rift reopened, wider this time, spilling darkness across the city. From it came a roar that shook the heavens, deeper and more terrifying than before. The true enemy had arrived. A monstrous figure, larger than any building, its body a fusion of shadow and steel, its claws dripping with cosmic fire. Its eyes burned with hunger, its voice echoing across dimensions. "I am Mumra reborn, and this world will be mine." The crowd below screamed, the city trembling as the monster stepped through the rift. Superman and Lion-O turned, their eyes meeting for the first time, not as enemies, but as allies. "This isn't your fight," Superman said. Lion-O raised his sword, its light blazing. "It is now." The rooftop cracked beneath their feet as they leapt together, side by side, into the sky. The Man of Steel and the Lord of the Thundercats. When gods collide, the world trembles. And the war had only just begun. The roar of Mumra reborn shook Metropolis like an earthquake. Skyscrapers groaned, glass shattered, and the streets below split open as the colossal figure stepped through the rift. His body was a grotesque fusion of shadow and steel, his claws dripping with cosmic fire, his eyes burning with hunger. Civilians screamed, scattering through the chaos, their phones still raised, streaming the impossible. Superman hovered midair, his cape snapping in the wind, his jaw tight. Beside him, Lion-O raised the Sword of Omens, its blade blazing with the eye of Thundera. For a moment, the two warriors locked eyes. Rivals seconds ago, now bound by necessity. "This thing is yours," Superman asked, his voice sharp. Lion-O shook his head. "No, this thing is everyone's doom." Mumra's voice boomed across the city, layered with echoes of ancient gods. "Worlds will kneel, realities will burn, and I will feast on the power of Krypton and Thundera alike." The monster raised a claw, and with a single swipe, tore through an entire skyscraper. The building collapsed in a storm of dust and fire, the shockwave hurling cars into the air. Superman darted forward, catching a falling bus before it crushed a crowd. He set it down gently, then shot back into the sky, his eyes blazing red. Twin beams of heat vision lanced out, slamming into Mumra's chest. The monster staggered, smoke rising, then laughed. "Your fire feeds me, Kryptonian." The flames sank into his body, his claws glowing brighter. Lion-O leapt forward, his sword blazing. "Then let's see how you handle this." The Sword of Omens struck, its light cutting across Mumra's chest. The monster roared, stumbling back, the wound glowing. For the first time, he bled. Superman's eyes widened. "That sword, it hurts him." Lion-O nodded grimly. The eye of Thundera was forged to cut through darkness. But it won't be enough alone. Behind them, the rest of the Thundercats sprang into action. Chitara blurred across the battlefield, her whip crackling as she lashed at Mumra's legs, tripping him momentarily. Panthro slammed into his side, his metal arms pounding like hammers. The twins darted through the chaos, planting explosive capsules that detonated in bursts of light. For a moment, it worked. The monster staggered, his roar shaking the city. But then he adapted. his body twisted, shadows wrapping around him like armor. His wounds closed, his claws lengthened, his roar deepened. He swatted Panthro aside like a toy, hurled Thundera through a billboard, and stomped down, sending shockwaves that cracked the streets. Superman caught Panthro mid-air, setting him down gently. "Stay back. He'll kill you." Panthro wiped blood from his lip, grinning. "You don't know us, Kryptonian. We don't back down." Lion-O raised his sword again, his voice booming. "Thundercats, HOO." The battle cry echoed across Metropolis, the eye of Thundera blazing brighter than ever. The team surged forward, their courage unshaken. Superman hovered beside Lion-O, his fists clenched. "You're reckless." Lion-O smirked. "And you're cautious. Maybe together we balance out." The two legends charged side by side. Superman slammed into Mummaray's chest, his fists pounding like thunder, each strike shaking the monster. Lion-O's sword slashed across his limbs, cutting through shadow, forcing him back. Together, they drove him into the ruins of a skyscraper, the building collapsing around him. For a moment, silence. Dust and smoke filled the air. Then Mummaray rose. Bigger, stronger. His body now fused with the rubble, steel and stone grafted into his flesh. His eyes burned brighter, his voice deeper. "You cannot kill what is eternal." He raised both claws, and the sky split again. Dozens of smaller shadow creatures poured through the rift, twisted hybrids of man and beast, their eyes glowing, their claws dripping fire. They swarmed across the city, tearing through cars, leaping onto rooftops, chasing civilians. The invasion had begun. Superman's heart pounded. He couldn't fight them all. Not alone. He turned to Lion-O. "We need to split up. I'll hold him. You and your team protect the people." Lion-O hesitated, then nodded. "Don't die, Kryptonian." Superman smirked. "Not my style." He shot into the sky, slamming into Mummaray with all his strength. The two titans collided mid-air, their clash shaking the heavens. Heat vision blazed, claws slashed, fists pounded, sword cut. The city below became a war zone. Meanwhile, the Thundercats spread out. Thundera blurred through the streets, scooping civilians out of harm's way. Panthro tore through shadow creatures with his metal arms, smashing them into rubble. The twins darted across rooftops, planting explosives that lit the sky. But the swarm was endless. For every creature they destroyed, two more emerged. Lion-O fought at the center, his sword blazing, his voice booming. "Stand together. Thundera lives in us all." The crowd below, terrified moments ago, began to cheer. Civilians picked up stones, pipes, anything they could find, joining the fight. The city itself rose against the darkness. Above, Superman and Mummaray clashed in a storm of fire and shadow. Superman's fists pounded, his heat vision blazed, but the monster only grew stronger. Every strike fed him. Every blast made him bigger. Superman's chest heaved, his strength waning. He realized the truth. He couldn't win by force. He needed the sword. He shot downward, landing beside Lion-O. "Your blade, it's the only thing that hurts him. We need to strike together." Lion-O nodded, his eyes blazing. "Then let's end this." The two legends leapt into the sky, side by side. Mummaray roared, his claws raised, his body towering above the city. Superman's fists glowed with heat vision, his eyes burning. Lion-O's sword blazed with the eye of Thundera, its light cutting through shadow. Together, they struck. The impact lit the sky like a second sun. The explosion shook the city, the shockwave hurling the swarm back into the rift. Mummaray screamed, his body splitting, his shadow armor shattering. For a moment, it seemed over. The rift began to close, the swarm dissolving, the city quieting. But then Mummaray laughed. His body, broken and bleeding, dissolved into shadow. His voice echoed across the sky. "You cannot kill me. I am eternal, and I will return." The rift snapped shut. Silence fell. Superman hovered mid-air, his chest heaving, his cape torn. Lion-O floated beside him, his sword dimming. The city below was in ruins but alive. Civilians cheered, their voices rising. Superman turned to Lion-O. "We stopped him. For now." Lion-O nodded grimly. "But he'll be back. Stronger. And next time, he won't come alone." The two legends hovered above the city, their eyes on the horizon. Enemies no longer. Allies by necessity. And somewhere in the shadows, Mamare's laughter still echoed. The war was far from over. The city of Metropolis was still smoldering. Fires burned in the streets, smoke curled into the sky, and civilians huddled in the ruins, whispering the names of the two legends who had saved them. Superman, Lion-O. But both heroes knew the truth. They hadn't won. They had only delayed the inevitable. High above the city, Superman hovered in silence, his cape torn, his chest heaving. Lion-O stood on the rooftop of the Daily Planet, the sword of omens dim in his hand. The Thundercats regrouped around him, battered but unbroken. Panthro spat blood onto the concrete. "That thing, Mamare, he's not gone. I can feel it." Thundera nodded grimly. "He's eternal. He'll come back stronger." Superman's eyes narrowed, glowing faintly red. "Then we'll be ready." But even as he spoke, the sky trembled. A ripple spread across the clouds, jagged and green, splitting reality like glass. The rift widened, spilling light across the city. Civilians screamed, pointing upward. Lion-O raised the sword of omens, its blade glowing faintly. "He's already here." The rift tore open fully, and from it poured shadows. Dozens, then hundreds of creatures, twisted hybrids of man and beast, their eyes glowing, their claws dripping fire. They swarmed across the city, leaping onto rooftops, tearing through cars, chasing civilians. But this time, they weren't alone. Figures stepped through the rift, warriors in black armor, their faces hidden, their weapons glowing with alien energy. They moved with precision, their voices chanting in unison. Mamare reigns eternal. Superman's jaw tightened. He's building an army. Lion-O's grip tightened on his sword. Not just an army, a cult. The swarm surged, flooding the streets. The Thundercats leapt into action, their battle cry echoing. Thundercats, HOO. Thundera blurred through the chaos, her whip crackling as she lashed at the cultists. Panthro slammed into the swarm, his metal arms pounding like hammers. The twins darted across rooftops, planting explosives that detonated in bursts of light. Superman shot into the sky, his fists blazing, his heat vision slicing through the swarm. He caught falling civilians, shielded them with his body, then hurled himself back into the fight. But the swarm was endless. For every creature they destroyed, two more emerged. And then the sky split again. This time, it wasn't Mamare. It was something worse. A second rift opened, glowing crimson. From it stepped figures that made even Superman's heart skip. Other versions of himself. Dozens of Supermen, each twisted, each corrupted. Some wore black armor, their eyes glowing red. Others bore scars, their capes torn, their fists dripping with blood. They hovered in the sky, their voices echoing. "We are the Legion of Steel, and we serve Mamare." The crowd below gasped. Phones shook in trembling hands. The internet exploded. Evil Supermen. Multiverse invasion. Lion-O's eyes widened. What sorcery is this? Superman's chest tightened. It's not sorcery. It's the multiverse. The Legion of Steel descended, their fists blazing, their heat vision slicing through the city. Buildings collapsed, streets cracked, civilians screamed. Superman shot upward, colliding with one of them midair. Their fists clashed, the shockwave rattling the city. He spun, slamming the doppelganger into the ground. But another struck him from behind, sending him crashing through a skyscraper. Lion-O leapt forward, his sword blazing. He slashed through one of the evil Supermen, the blade cutting deep, the doppelganger screaming as it dissolved into shadow. "The sword works on them," Lion-O shouted. Superman staggered to his feet, blood dripping from his lip. "Then we fight together." The battle raged across the city. Superman and Lion-O fought side by side, their strikes synchronized, their power unmatched. The Thundercats held the line, their courage unshaken. Civilians joined the fight, hurling stones, pipes, anything they could find. But the Legion was too strong. For every doppelganger they destroyed, more emerged. The sky was filled with supermen, their capes black, their eyes burning. And then Mumare returned. His voice boomed across the city, his body colossal, his claws dripping fire. He hovered above the battlefield, his laughter shaking the heavens. You cannot win. I am eternal. And now so is my army. Superman's chest heaved, his strength waning. Lion OS sword dimmed, its light fading. The Thundercats staggered, their bodies battered. For the first time, hope faltered, and then a new voice cut through the chaos. Enough! The air shimmered, and from the shadows stepped a figure cloaked in light. His staff glowed, his eyes burned with wisdom. Jaga, the spirit of Thundera. He raised his staff, and the battlefield froze. The swarm halted, the legion staggered, even Mumare faltered. Jaga's voice echoed. This war is not of one world. It is of many, and if you do not stand together, all will fall. Superman's eyes narrowed. Then tell us how to stop him. Jaga's gaze burned. The Sword of Omens is the key, but it cannot be wielded by one alone. It must be wielded by two, Krypton and Thundera. Together, Lion OS eyes widened. You mean? Jaga nodded. Share the blade. Superman hesitated, his chest tightening. The sword was not his. It was alien, ancient, sacred. But he saw the truth in Jaga's eyes. He reached out. Lion-O placed the hilt in his hand. Together, they gripped the Sword of Omens. The blade blazed brighter than ever, its light cutting through shadow, its power shaking the heavens. The eye of Thundera flared, its voice echoing. Two worlds, one destiny. Mumare roared, his body twisting, his claws raised. The Legion surged, their eyes burning. Superman and Lion-O raised the sword together, their voices booming. For Earth, for Thundera, they struck. The blade cut through the Legion, dissolving them into dust. It slashed across the swarm, erasing them in bursts of light. It pierced Mumare's chest, his roar shaking the multiverse. The rift shattered. The sky cleared. The battlefield fell silent. Mumare staggered, his body broken, his voice a whisper. You cannot kill me. I am eternal. Superman's eyes burned. Then we'll fight you forever. The monster dissolved into shadow, his laughter echoing. The city was quiet. The war was over. For now. Superman and Lion-O lowered the sword, their hands still joined. The crowd below erupted in cheers, their voices rising. But both heroes knew the truth. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The silence after the Legion's defeat was deceptive. Metropolis still smoldered, its skyline scarred, its people shaken. Superman hovered above the ruins, his cape torn, his chest heaving. Lion-O stood beside him, the Sword of Omens dim but still warm in his grip. They had won a battle, but not the war, because Mumare's laughter still echoed in the void. And then the sky split again. This time, the rift wasn't green or crimson. It was golden, ancient, regal, alive. The air shimmered, and through the tear came visions of another world. A world of twin suns, endless jungles, and towering stone fortresses carved with feline symbols. Thundera. Lion-O's eyes widened, his voice trembling. Home. The Thundercats gathered, their faces filled with awe and dread. Panthro clenched his fists. If Mumare's taken Thundera, then this war isn't just Earth's problem anymore. Superman's jaw tightened. Then we take the fight to him. The Sword of Omens blazed, the eye of Thundera pulsing. The rift widened, pulling them in. In a flash of light, Superman, Lion-O, and the Thundercats vanished from Earth. They emerged into chaos. Thundera was burning. The twin suns hung low in the sky, casting blood-red light across a battlefield of ruins. The once proud Cat's Lair fortress lay in rubble, its statues shattered, its banners torn. The jungles burned, smoke rising into the heavens. And across the land, Mumare's army marched, shadow creatures, cultists, and twisted beasts, their roars shaking the world. At the center of it all stood Mumare reborn. Bigger than before, his body fused with Thundera's very soil, his claws dripping molten fire, his wings stretching across the sky. His voice boomed across the battlefield. "Welcome home, Thundercats. Welcome to your grave." Lion-O raised the Sword of Omens, its blade blazing. "Not while I still breathe." Superman hovered beside him, his fists clenched. "Then let's make sure he doesn't get the chance." The battle erupted. The Thundercats charged, their battle cry echoing. "Thundercats! H-O-O!" Thundera blurred across the battlefield, her whip crackling as she lashed at cultists. Panthro tore through Shadow Beasts with his metal arms, smashing them into rubble. The twins darted through the ruins, planting explosives that lit the sky. Superman shot forward, colliding with Mumare midair. Their clash shook the heavens, fists pounding, claws slashing, heat vision blazing. The twin suns dimmed under their fury. Lion-O leapt into the fray, his sword blazing, slashing across Mumare's chest. The monster roared, staggering, his wounds glowing. But then he laughed. "You cannot kill me. I am eternal." His body twisted, shadows wrapping around him, his wounds closing. He raised his claws, and the ground split. From the cracks emerged new horrors, twisted versions of the Thundercats themselves. Shadow Thundera, her eyes burning red, her whip dripping fire. Shadow Panthro, his arms jagged blades. Shadow Lion-O, his sword blackened, his mane aflame. The Thundercats froze, their eyes wide. He's made copies of us," Wily Cat whispered. Mumare's laughter shook the battlefield. "Your greatest enemy is always yourself." The clones attacked. Thundera clashed with her shadow, their whips sparking as they cracked against each other. Panthro slammed into his doppelganger, metal arms colliding with jagged blades. The twins darted through the chaos, their shadows mirroring every move. Lion-O faced his dark reflection, their swords clashing, sparks flying. The eye of Thundera blazed against its corrupted twin, the clash lighting the battlefield. Superman fought above, his fists pounding against Mumare, but the monster only grew stronger. Every strike fed him, every blast made him bigger. Superman's chest heaved, his strength waning. He realized the truth. They couldn't win by force. He shot downward, landing beside Lion-O. "We need to end this. Together." Lion-O nodded, his eyes blazing. "Then let's finish it." They raised the Sword of Omens together, its light blazing brighter than ever. The eye of Thundera flared, its voice echoing. "Two worlds, one destiny." The blade cut through the shadow clones, dissolving them into dust. It slashed across the battlefield, erasing the swarm. It pierced Mumare's chest, his roar shaking the multiverse. The monster staggered, his body breaking, his voice a whisper. "You cannot kill me. I am eternal." Superman's eyes burned. "Then we'll fight you forever." The blade blazed, its light consuming Mumare. His body dissolved into shadow, his laughter echoing. The battlefield fell silent. The Thundercats collapsed, their bodies battered, their spirits shaken. Superman hovered above, his chest heaving, his cape torn. Lion-O lowered the sword, his eyes grim. They had won, but at what cost? Thundera lay in ruins. Its jungles burned, its fortress shattered, its people scattered. The Thundercats stood amidst the rubble, their faces filled with sorrow. Lion-O clenched his fists. "We saved the world, but we lost our home." Superman placed a hand on his shoulder. "Homes can be rebuilt. Lives can't. You gave your people a future." Lion-O nodded slowly, his eyes burning with resolve. "Then we rebuild. And when Mumare returns, we'll be ready." Superman's jaw tightened. He will return. And next time, he won't come alone. The twin suns rose higher, casting light across the ruins. The war was over. For now. But in the shadows of the multiverse, Mumare's laughter still echoed. And the final battle was yet to come. The twin suns of Thundera bled red across the horizon. Smoke curled from the ruins of the cat's lair, and the battlefield was silent except for the crackle of fire. Superman hovered above the wreckage, his cape torn to ribbons, his chest heaving. Lion-O stood below, the Sword of Omens dim in his hand, his mane matted with blood and ash. They had won, or so it seemed, because in the silence a whisper lingered. I am eternal. The ground trembled. The sky darkened. The twin suns dimmed, eclipsed by a shadow that spread across the heavens. The air grew heavy, suffocating, as if the world itself was holding its breath. And then he returned, Momare, but not as they had seen him before. This was no longer a body of flesh and shadow. This was something greater. His form stretched across the sky, a colossal titan of darkness, his wings blotting out the suns, his claws dripping with cosmic fire. His face was a mask of bone and flame, his eyes burning brighter than stars. He was no longer just Momare reborn. He was Momare eternal. His voice shook the world. You cannot kill me. You cannot banish me. I am the hunger between worlds. I am a shadow of gods. And now, I am forever. The Thundercats staggered, their eyes wide with terror. Panthro clenched his fists. How do we fight that? Chitaro whispered. We don't. We can't. Superman's jaw tightened. His fists clenched. We don't have a choice. Lion-O raised the Sword of Omens, its blade flickering weakly. The Eye of Thundera, it's fading. It can't hold him anymore. Jaga's spirit appeared, his form glowing faintly in the smoke. His voice was calm, but heavy with finality. The sword alone cannot defeat him. His power is beyond Thundera, beyond Krypton, beyond any single world. Superman turned, his eyes burning. Then what do we do? Jaga's gaze fell on him. You must give everything. Superman froze. Everything. Lion-O's eyes widened. No, there has to be another way. But Jaga shook his head. The Sword of Omens is a vessel. It can channel the power of worlds. But it needs a sacrifice. A god must fall so that eternity can be broken. The battlefield fell silent. Superman looked at the sword, then at Lion-O, then at the burning sky. His chest tightened. He had faced death before. He had fallen before. But this was different. This wasn't just his life. This was his soul. Lion-O stepped forward, his voice fierce. Then I'll do it. Thundera is my world. My burden. Superman shook his head. No, your people need you. Earth needs me less than Thundera needs its king. Lion-O's grip tightened on the sword. You don't get to decide that. Superman's eyes softened. Lion-O, you're a leader. I'm a symbol. Symbols can be reborn. Leaders can't. The two warriors locked eyes. For a moment, the world fell away. Just two men, standing on the edge of eternity, deciding who would carry the burden of gods. Then the ground shook. Momare roared, his voice splitting the sky. Choose quickly, or I will consume you both. Superman placed his hand on the hilt of the Sword of Omens, his other hand gripping Lion-O's shoulder. Together. One last time. Lion-O's eyes burned with tears, but he nodded. Together, the Sword of Omens blazed, brighter than ever before. The Eye of Thundera flared, its voice echoing across the battlefield. Two worlds, one destiny, one sacrifice. Superman's body glowed, his chest burning with the light of Krypton. The symbol on his chest, the House of El, shone like a star. The sword drank in his power, its blade blazing with golden fire. Momare roared, his wings spreading, his claws raised. You cannot kill me. Superman's voice boomed, steady and unshaken. Maybe not, but I can end you. He shot into the sky, the Sword of Omens blazing in his hands. Lion-O's grip guided him, their voices united in a single cry. For Earth, for Thundera, they struck. The blade pierced Momare's chest, cutting through shadow, through eternity, through the very fabric of his being. The Titan screamed, his roar shaking the multiverse. His body convulsed, his wings shattering, his claws dissolving. The sky exploded in light. The battlefield was consumed in fire and brilliance. Civilians shielded their eyes. The Thundercats staggered. The world itself trembled. And then silence. When the light faded, Momare was gone. The sky was clear. The sun shone bright. The battlefield was still. But Superman was gone too. The Sword of Omens lay in the rubble, its blade cracked, its light extinguished. Lion-O fell to his knees, his chest heaving, his eyes burning with grief. Chitara placed a hand on his shoulder. He knew what he was doing. Panthro clenched his fists. He saved us all, the twins whispered, their voices trembling. But at what cost? Lion-O picked up the sword, its weight heavier than ever. He raised it high, his voice breaking. Superman lives in this blade now. In this world. In every world. The crowd below erupted in cheers, their voices rising. Superman. Superman. But Lion-O's heart was heavy. Because he knew the truth. Superman wasn't gone. Not entirely. In the distance, in the cracks of reality, a faint glow lingered. A figure hovered in the void, his cape torn, his body glowing with golden light. His voice was faint but steady. I am not gone. I am a light. I am a shadow. I am eternal. And then he vanished. Lion-O lowered the sword, his eyes burning with resolve. He'll return. When we need him most. The Thundercats stood beside him, their faces grim but proud. The war was over. For now. But in the silence of the multiverse, a whisper lingered. Not Mummeray's. Superman's. And it promised hope.